My dear heart, come closer. Lean in. Let your soul take a breath. For there are whispers in the wind, and the earth beneath your feet is not quiet. It is moaning with movement. It is trembling with truth. God's hand, oh yes, child, God's hand is not still. In your life, you see, there are moments so small they slip past the eye of man. But heaven sees them, and the hand of the Almighty is not still. It weaves, it pulls, it molds. It carries you through storms you thought would bury you. Let me tell you how you'll know. Let me speak these truths, like old songs passed down on porches and whispered in church pews. These are the 5 signs. Not of luck, not of chance, but that God's mighty hand is working in your life. Oh, the ache of loss, how familiar it is to the human soul. It creeps in like a cold fog at dusk, soft but heavy, and before you know it, you can't see straight. You try to remember what the warmth felt like before it left. You hold on to the laughter that used to fill the hallway. You reach out to touch what's already gone, hoping maybe by some miracle it'll return. But when the hand of God is upon you, child, He does not give you back the shadow of what was. He gives you something better. He gives you peace. Now, peace is not loud. It does not boast. It does not march into the room with fanfare or demand your attention like the noise of worry does. Peace, true, heaven-sent peace, slips in like the dawn. Slowly, gently, silently. And before you realize it, you are no longer grieving like you used to. You're no longer asking why every morning. You're no longer waiting for the phone to ring or for the door to swing open with a ghost on the other side. No, baby, you're sitting in the stillness, and you're okay. There was a time you couldn't say that. There was a time your soul was split into pieces you didn't think would fit back together. There was a time your eyes forgot how to shine and your heart beat slower, not because you were tired, but because you were empty. But look at you now. Look at how you rise in the morning and you don't dread the light. Look at how you stand in your own kitchen and hume again. That's not time healing you. That's not coincidence. That is the hand of God, smoothing out the crumpled paper of your past, folding it with care, and tucking it into the book of your becoming. You see, we think God's hand always shows up in fire and miracles, in parting seas and shaking mountains. But sometimes it's in the quiet, in the still places, where your soul says, I don't need that back anymore. Where your heart whispers, I'm not angry now. Where your spirit breathes, I have peace. Oh, my love, that is the divine at work. He didn't give you the relationship back. He gave you clarity. He didn't restore the job. He gave you rest. He didn't bring them back. He brought you forward. And somehow, in the softest way possible, you felt your shoulders relax again. You felt your chest stop tightening every time someone said their name. You stopped rehearsing the old conversations. You stopped blaming yourself for what couldn't be saved. Now that, my dear, is grace. Don't you see it? That is a holy exchange. God did not return the thing you lost, but He gave you something far more valuable, the ability to live again, to breathe without bitterness, to walk without weeping, to smile without pretending. You didn't get over it. You got through it. And that's the miracle. That's the kind of peace that passes understanding. It don't make sense to the world. Folk might look at you and wonder, is she still standing? And you'll just smile. Because you'll know something they don't. You'll know there were nights you didn't know if the morning would come. You'll know there were days you laid on the floor with your hands shaking, asking God to just take the pain away. And He didn't take it away overnight. No, He walked with you through it, held you in it, rocked you like a mother rocking her crying baby. And day by day, that sorrow began to shift. The tears still come sometimes, yes, but they're softer now. They don't drown you like they used to. Now they come with memories, not mourning. They come with acceptance, not agony. And that too is the hand of God. Oh, baby, I know. I know what it feels like to lose something you thought you couldn't live without. A person, a dream, a season of your life that felt like home. And I know the fear that follows, that maybe you'll never feel whole again. But let me tell you what I've lived to see. The Lord specializes in turning heartbreak into healing. He takes the pieces of your sorrow, and with the tenderness of a divine potter, he molds something new, something sacred. You may not have what you lost, but you have something better. You have peace, that quiet confidence, that steady soul, that still heart that no longer trembles at the sound of what used to haunt you. That's not weakness. That's not forgetting. That's transformation. God's hand worked a miracle in the stillness of your grief. You didn't even know it was happening. But now, look at you. You've stopped chasing closure. You've stopped needing answers. You've stopped rehearsing the pain. You've started living. That's how you know. When you no longer feel the need to rebuild what broke, but instead you build something new, something with more truth, more gentleness, more gratitude. That's how you know the Lord is near. So don't you let anyone tell you peace is passive. Oh, child, peace is power. Peace is the sound of heaven saying, I am still with you. Peace is your proof that God has touched your heart and left a mark. So if you feel it now, that holy hush inside your chest, that still water flowing through your thoughts, that smile you can't explain, just nod your head and say, I see you, Lord. I thank you. Because everything you lost may never come back. But the peace he gave you, that's your evidence. That's your sign. That's his hand. Right there. Still working, still holding, still healing. And you, my dear heart, you are living proof. Oh, child, do you hear it? That sound? It is the sound of a door closing. The gentle creak, the final click, the hush that follows. The world tells you to fear that sound, to tremble at its echo, to believe that the closing of a door is the end of a dream, the betrayal of a prayer. But when the hand of God is on your life, that sound, that sound is not a curse. It is a blessing disguised in the robes of disappointment. You see, there was a time, yes, we've all known it, when a door shut and we collapse undone. We shouted at heaven, why, Lord? Why now? We begged for what was behind the door. We mourned it. We fought for it. We wore out our knuckles pounding on the wood, not realizing that heaven was whispering, my beloved, that was not your room. But then something shifted. One day the door closed and we stood still. We didn't scream. We didn't fall apart. We didn't crumble into 1,000 little questions. We just breathed. We wiped the corner of our eye and said, all right, Lord, if not this, then something better. And that, my dear, is not weakness. That is divine maturity. That is the touch of the Most High, steadying your soul. That is God's hand on your life. Now understand me. There is nothing wrong with desiring. We are built to hope. Our spirits lean toward light the way flowers lean toward the sun. But when the hand of God is truly guiding you, you begin to trust the no just as much as the yes. You begin to understand that closed doors are not insults, they are instructions. They are heaven's way of saying, child, you are not built for that burden. Come higher. There is a holy calm that descends when you've walked with the Lord long enough. You've seen enough to know that every closed door you once wept over, every slammed gate you once cursed, every exit that made you feel small was a reroute to glory. And now when the next one shuts, you don't panic, you don't faint. You say, God must be doing something. You may not know what. You may not see how, but there's a knowing deep down in your chest, somewhere behind the heartache and beneath the memory, a knowing that says, I've been here before, and he showed up, and he made a way out of no way. And that kind of knowing doesn't come from sermons or songs. It comes from survival, from walking through the valleys and coming out the other side, not empty, but enlightened. That's when you know his hand is upon you, because it takes courage to trust a silence. It takes wisdom to believe in the invisible. It takes strength to say, I don't need to understand. I just need to obey. And what a transformation it is when we stop trying to force open what God has shut. When we put down the crowbar of our ego, the hammer of our impatience, and the pickaxe of our will. When we finally say, Lord, I trust you more than I trust my own desires. That is the sacred posture of surrender. That is worship without music. That is faith with its sleeves rolled up. See, doors will always close. People will walk away. Opportunities will disappear like smoke in the wind. What once looked like promise will rot in your hands. That's just life, baby. But the difference now is you. You don't flinch anymore. You don't question your worth just because you weren't chosen it. Be it whatever it is. You don't chase after what doesn't return. You simply adjust your crown, steady your feet, and look to the hills. Because you know that when God says no, he's always saying yes to something greater. There is a divine choreography at work. And sometimes the rhythm of heaven requires subtraction before multiplication. God removes what looks good to make room for what is good, to make room for what is good, to make room for what is good, to make room for what is good. He blocks paths that glittered because they led to pits. He disappoints your plans to deliver his promise. And that kind of divine interference, that's love, child. That's not punishment. That's not rejection. That is your Father looking down from eternity and saying, not this one, baby. Not this time. I've got better. I've got more. And you, with the peace of the Holy Spirit pulsing through your bones, say, yes, Lord. Believe you. Oh, how powerful you become when you stop fearing the shut door. How radiant you are when you stop begging for crumbs from tables God never prepared for you. How glorious you walk when you know that rejection is redirection. And how mighty is the soul who trusts God enough to wait. Wait for the right door. Wait for the prepared place. Wait for the divine appointment. Because waiting is not weakness. Waiting is worship. It's standing at the edge of the unknown with open hands and saying, I don't need to see it to believe it. I don't need to understand it to trust it. I don't need the door to open to know my God is still good. And oh, how pleased he is with that kind of faith. That quiet, unshakable, tear-stained faith. The kind that rises even when the way is unclear. The kind that smiles even when the plan has changed. The kind that dances in the hallway because it knows, without a doubt, that the door that will open will be better than anything you try to force. So next time one shuts, don't panic. Stand tall. Stand firm. Stand in the knowledge that the hand of God is moving. And if his hand closes it, then his heart has something greater waiting just beyond your sight. Rest in that, sweet soul, and walk forward in peace. Because his hand is not just on your past. His hand is not just on your now. His hand is already holding your next. There comes a time, child, when you look back at the ashes and no longer cry over what the fire took. You don't gather the charred pieces in your hands anymore. You don't hold them up to the sun and ask, why me? You don't whisper that someone owes you something for the pain they caused. You don't reach for revenge. You don't even want an apology. Not anymore. That is when you know, deep down in the quiet chambers of your spirit, that God's hand has done something sacred in you. Because, baby, healing is loud when it first begins. It shouts, it aches, It wrestles. But when it's finished, it speaks in stillness. In that stillness, you'll find something rare and precious. The absence of bitterness. Bitterness is a slow poison. It creeps in when your back is turned, and it settles where your peace once lived. It sours your joy. It hardens your smile. It changes the way you walk and makes every word taste of old wounds. And oh, how long it lingers if you let it. It tells you that you have every right to be angry, that you should never forget that letting go is weakness, that forgiveness is foolishness. But then the hand of the Almighty touches you. It brushes past the anger like a soft wind on a wildfire. And what once roared begins to flicker. And what once burned begins to cool. You stop rehearsing the betrayal. You stop painting the faces of the people who hurt you in the colors of your rage. You stop defining your present by the pain of your past. And when someone says their name, you don't clench your jaw anymore. When the memory plays, it no longer stings. You can sit with it like an old friend, one that taught you something but no longer controls you. That is not the work of time alone. That is not the fruit of your willpower. That is the hand of God, moving in the invisible places of your soul, peeling away layer after layer of anger until only grace remains. You don't become unbitter by accident. No, baby. You have to want peace more than you want to be right. You have to desire healing more than you desire payback. You have to let God be God. Let Him judge. Let Him balance the scales. Let Him hold the weight you've carried so long, that your shoulders don't remember what it's like to be light. And when you do that, oh, something miraculous happens. You get your joy back. Real joy. Not the kind you paste on your face to get through the day, but the kind that bubbles up in your chest when you least expect it. The kind that wraps around you like a warm shawl on a cold night. The kind that makes you laugh again, not because the world has changed, but because you have. You start seeing the beauty in places you once overlooked. You stop walking into rooms with a sword in your hand. You stop assuming every kind word has a trick behind it. You stop living with your fists clenched and your heart armored. You breathe easier. You love freer. You give without suspicion. You receive without fear. Bitterness had you chained to yesterday, but God's mercy broke the lock. And now you walk like someone who has been freed. There's a glow to people who have laid their bitterness down, a softness in their eyes, a calm in their voice. You can feel it before they speak. They don't need to explain themselves. They don't need to be louder than the pain. They've made peace with what happened. They've stopped needing the story to end a certain way. You see, healing doesn't mean you pretend it didn't hurt. It doesn't mean you rewrite the past with rose-colored ink. It means you stare the truth in the face and say, yes, that broke me. And when you speak that truth, without tears in your throat and vengeance in your veins, that's when heaven claps for you. That's when the angels nod and say, she has learned to forgive, she has learned to live. And what a holy freedom it is to not be bitter. What a mighty blessing to be whole, not because life was gentle, but because grace was greater. Grace that reached into the pit of your sorrow and pulled you out. Grace that turned your curses into wisdom. Grace that taught you that peace isn't found in the apology, but in the release. Oh yes, my dear. There will always be people who don't say they're sorry. There will always be wounds that never get justice. But you are not called to carry that weight forever. You are called to rise. You are called to forgive, not because they earned it, but because you deserve to be free. And when you finally do, when you lay that anger down like an old coat that no longer fits, you'll see the world with new eyes. You'll bless people who never blessed you. You'll pray for people who forgot your name. You'll smile at memories that used to make you cry. And all of it will be the fingerprint of God's hand on your life. The unmistakable signature of a creator who does not just restore what was lost, but renews what was poisoned. You'll no longer be the person who flinched at the mention of the past. You'll be the one who walks tall, heart open, voice steady, unafraid. Because what broke you, what hurt you didn't hold you, what left you didn't lessen you. You are whole now, not perfect, not without scar, but whole in the way only God can make you. And if someone asks you how you did it, how you forgave the unforgivable, how you kept your soul sweet when life turned sour, you will smile and say, I let go. And God took over, and oh, how beautiful you are. Now that the bitterness is gone, you are soft again, but not weak, kind again, but not naive, strong again, but not hard. You are light. You are grace. You are the living proof that love is stronger than pain, that peace is stronger than revenge, that God's hand is still on you, still guiding, still healing, still redeeming. There comes a season, precious heart, when the sound of your own voice, not the voice of regret, not the trembling of insecurity, but a new voice, a risen voice, a voice that knows it has survived storms and still knows how to sing. And when that day comes, when you finally open your mouth and speak life over yourself, oh, yes, baby, that is when you know God's hand is surely, tenderly, mightily upon you. Because you see, we are born into a world that teaches us how to doubt, but not how to declare. It teaches us to question our worth, but not to crown ourselves in it. We're taught to shrink to fit the space, to hush our power, to speak only when spoken to. But God, hallelujah, God is not in the business of shrinking his children. God speaks worlds into being. He said, let there be light, and light was. And when his hand rests on you, he begins to train your tongue to do the same. There is holy power in your voice, not just in what you say to others, but in what you say to you. And the day you begin to speak over yourself with love, with boldness, with truth, that's the day you become your own prophet. That's the day you stop waiting for others to call you beautiful, chosen, favored, blessed, and you say it first. And when you do, heaven nods in agreement. Now, child, I know. There were years you stood in front of mirrors and couldn't meet your own eyes. There were days when your reflection whispered lies, lies planted by pain, nurtured by silence, and watered by fear. You believed what they said about you, that you were too much, that you were not enough, that you were broken, that you were unlovable, that your past was too dirty, your future too uncertain. But then God leaned in. He began to speak in the quiet, not with thunder, but with truth. And his words found the cracks in your armor. They slipped between the slats of your sadness. They curled around your despair like the arms of a mother gathering her child. He said, you are mine. You are still mine, even now, even with this. And something shifted. Maybe not all at once. Maybe it was a whisper before it became a roar. But you started to say things differently. You started to see yourself differently. Where there was once shame, there was now gentleness. Where there was once a flood of self-doubt, there was now a river of reassurance. You began to speak, not from your wounds, but from your wisdom. You started waking up and saying, I am enough. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. You looked at your scars and said, these are proof I'm still here. You walked into rooms and thought, I belong. You caught your reflection, and instead of critique, you offered compassion. That is God's hand at work. That is transformation wrapped in the cloth of mercy. And oh, how powerful you become when your mouth aligns with your Maker, when your words echo his promises, when you stop cursing your own name and start blessing it. You stop saying, I can, and begin saying, with God, I can. You stop repeating the grief and start proclaiming, the growth. See, the enemy doesn't fear your looks, your education, or your money. The enemy fears the day you start speaking life over yourself. Because a person who knows how to affirm themselves is hard to manipulate. They are hard to destroy. They are hard to derail. Because their identity is rooted not in opinion, but in truth. And that truth lives in your mouth now. You speak to your body and say you are whole. You speak to your mind and say you are sound. You speak to your dreams and say you are possible. You speak to your future and say you are bright. You are blessed. You are already unfolding. You speak and your soul listens. It starts to rise. It straightens its back. It believes again. And that belief becomes a seed. And that seed grows into confidence. And confidence begins to bloom into purpose. This is not arrogance, baby. This is alignment. This is what happens when you realize God didn't just create you to exist. He created you to declare, even when it's hard, even when the evidence doesn't match the affirmation, even when the pain is still fresh and the promise feels far. Because that's faith calling things that are not as though they already were. And I'll tell you a secret, life begins to obey the voice that honors it. When you start speaking life over yourself, doors open, hearts soften, mountains tremble, because all of creation is waiting to hear you agree with what God already said. And don't you worry if they don't understand you. Some people are still used to the old you, the quiet you, the apologetic you, the broken you. That's all right. Let them adjust while you rise. You don't owe them silence just because your healing makes them uncomfortable. You owe yourself life. Speak it every day. Speak it when you wake up and your soul feels heavy. Speak it when you've made mistakes. Speak it when you are unsure. Speak it when you are certain. Say it until your bones believe it. Say, I am not a mistake. I am chosen by God. I am full of light. I am worthy of love. I am walking in victory. I am no longer a prisoner of my past. I am being guided by grace. I am powerful beyond measure. And let me tell you, the world will try to make you take those words back. Life will come knocking with its shadows and sorrows. But when the hand of God is truly on you, you'll hold your ground. You'll speak louder. You'll speak clearer. You'll speak even when your voice shakes. Because you've learned that your words are sacred. They are tools. They are weapons. They are medicine. And when used rightly, they don't just change you. They change everything. So speak, beloved. Speak with fire. Speak with tenderness. Speak with authority. And every time you do, every time you declare life over yourself, you are preaching a gospel more powerful than any pulpit sermon. The gospel of survival turned into strength. The gospel of grace made visible. The gospel of a child of God remembering who she is. Yes, that's the sign. That's the wonder. That's the miracle. In the same mouth that once cursed your name now crowns it with life, you can be sure, oh yes, you can be sure, that God's hand is upon you, and it is doing a mighty, mighty work. There is a hush that comes upon the soul when God's hand has done its work. It is not the silence of defeat, nor the quiet exhaustion. No, this hush is holy. It is sacred stillness. A calm that does not need permission. A peace that shows up not after the storm, but sometimes in the very heart of it. When peace becomes your default, you are no longer ruled by noise. You are no longer tossed about by the shifting winds of other people's chaos. You have found your center. And that, my dear, is the unmistakable sign that the hand of the Lord is cradling your life. You see, peace is not something the world gives freely. It is not handed to you like a ribbon or a prize. It must be grown. It must be guarded. It must be chosen day after day, moment by moment. And oh, child, the journey to peace is not a straight path. No, it is winding. It takes you through battles, through heartbreak, through loss, through silence that threatens to swallow you whole. But when God walks you through all that, and you come out not bitter, not broken, but still unsure, then you know peace has become your portion. It's not that trouble stops knocking at your door. Trouble doesn't retire. It doesn't forget your name. But peace is when you stop letting it sit at your table. You don't invite it in anymore. You look out the window, see it pacing, and say, not today. And the power to say that comes not from pride, not from denial, but from a deep well of assurance that God has already gone before you. Your shoulders fall a little lower. Your breath flows a little deeper. You stop reacting to every loud thing. You stop racing to prove yourself. You stop needing to be in control of every outcome because you know who is. And that knowing, that sacred knowing, is what peace is made of. It is not found in the absence of problems. It is born in the presence of trust. Oh yes, you know you've changed when the same things that used to shake you now pass by like distant thunder. You hear them, sure, but they don't rattle your spirit. You used to pace the floor at night, now you sleep. You used to second-guess every step, now you move in quiet confidence. Not because life got easier, but because you got anchored. God's peace is not delicate. It is not fragile. It is not a feather floating in the wind. It is an oak tree with roots so deep that no storm can yank it from the ground. And when His hand has planted peace in you, you too become rooted. You stop chasing the wind. You stop answering every accusation. You stop explaining your healing to people still married to their wounds. You become still, but not stagnant. You become calm, but not passive. You become content, but not complacent. This kind of peace, child, is not small. It is not a soft whisper in the corner. It is a